I was just thinking about why it is that women, they just don't understand that college, that none of that stuff means anything to men. And I was I was wondering, why do they beat this dead horse when it comes to dating? That why do they expect their jobs to matter? Why do they expect their school to matter? Why does any of this stuff matter? And not only that, but why doesn't it matter to men? And I was watching some other people talking, and I heard some interesting stuff. Like it's a status. It's a fight for status. Women, it bothers them that really, no matter what they do, they can get master's degrees. Things, they can get the same degrees as men, but in an attempt to get an equal status with men. That's their goal, I guess, is to get equal status as us, even though it's not possible for them to get equal status as us. Like, think to yourself, have you ever been impressed, or attracted to a woman because of a degree or an accomplishment? Has that ever impressed you or attracted you? Does it really make you think more highly of a woman for being good at school? Because when it comes down to it, women's status, it doesn't come from the same place that men's status comes from. Men's status comes from achieving and providing or being able to provide for a family or providing for a family. Women's status comes from having children. But the feminists sold them this Looney Tunes lie, this version of life that doesn't exist, that if you go to school and if you get a master's degree and you get a career and you make as much money as men, that you will achieve the same status of a man who does the same thing as you. And it's not so. And these women, they get these degrees, they get these jobs, and then they wonder why it doesn't matter. And it's simply because men, that doesn't increase a woman's value. And when I say, a woman's value to who? Men, of course. We occupy the highest rung of society, and they don't. They occupy an inferior position, which, honestly, they're lucky. They have a higher power, and it's literally men, and they can yell at that higher power, and they can bargain with that higher power. Men are on top. The higher power is God. You can't argue with God. You can't bargain with God. They're lucky. And they wonder, why has this not increased my status in society? Well, because, and when they say society, they mean men. Because men don't respect a woman who goes to school. They don't respect it. Why should they? It's not a value added thing. It doesn't mean they're good at raising kids. Like, school isn't going to make them better at raising kids. So it's an absolutely arbitrary accomplishment on their behalf, and it's stupid. It's a waste of their life. They should just find a man and find a man, stick with him, because this whole trying to compete with men and build status like men, it doesn't work that way. Women have a high status to men when they're young and beautiful and perky and bubbly. And as they get older, they lose that status, and they wonder, but wait a second, I planned for this. I went to school to make up for this future loss of status, but it doesn't work that way. And when it occurred to me, I thought, geez, that's crazy, that they were convinced that they could climb the social hierarchy of men when it's just not so. that like no, like men are still in the traditional idea of society. There's a bargain that we build and uphold society, and women populate it. But they're not populating it. They're trying to like build and uphold society with us by not actually build and upholding society. None of them build anything. None of them do any labor or anything like that, and actually contribute to physical labor, which is what builds shit. And you know, to my mind, anyway, you know, I just wanted to, I had to point this out, that women are in a losing fight, right? They chose the stupidest things to achieve because they're not men, and it means nothing for a woman. It doesn't mean anything like it does for a man. Because women, they think because they value that in men, that men will value that in women. And it's just not so. They value that. That's why we do it. And it's all going towards populating the world. And that's why we build things, because that's the only way to attract women, is to achieve goals. Women, they don't need to do anything like that to attract men. All they need to do is be willing to start a family, willing to, you know, build. But it's just such a shame that we've lost generations of beautiful women, and that's all there is to it. There's no fixing it.